Harry is close to his cousins Peter and Zara, maybe he'll go that route. Maybe he'll decide no titles for my children. But all this we can wait and see and talk about at a later date.
And there will be lots of talk. What's the chatter right now as people gather on the streets? They're not going to see that baby for a couple of days. At least that's what Harry has said, that there will be a more public showing of this lovely little boy. That will happen in a couple of days, but they're not prepared to do it yet. People are gathering, however. Is this like party central now in London and outside?
Well, we assume that the baby may have been born in or near Windsor, where they reside now, Harry and Meghan. So they are gathering there. I haven't, to be honest, I'm at home, as you may have noticed on FaceTime. So I haven't noticed great gatherings in my little part of London. But yeah, people will be really happy. I mean, if nothing else, this is such a happy story and such a relief from Brexit. We've all been waiting for it, because we just want to talk about something other than Britain's terribly, messy exit from the European Union. So yeah, this will be a great cause of celebration, Suhana. It always is with royal babies, and we'll have a christening to look forward to, and the Queen will go and visit the baby, and it's going to be fun.
It definitely will be. You know what? You mentioned George and Amal Clooney being close to Harry and Meghan. It's George Clooney's birthday, but they can't go with George because they've already got a George, right?
Well, they've got a George in the family. I think,
yes.
Yeah, two George royal family might be a bit much.
Exactly. Final question for you. In terms of the relationship between the two sons of Diana and Charles, how will this bring them closer? They're both dads now. That's got to be another link that they will be able to share. But the children of Will and Kate will always have that other sense about them, That's
true. That's true. This will certainly be a bonding moment for both Harry and his brother William. The two households have actually moved quite a lot apart in the past few months, as you may have noticed. There's talk actually of Harry and his wife and the baby moving maybe even to somewhere like South Africa for a while to do what they want to do, to work with wildlife, to do, carry out some of the causes they believe in. So lots of rumors about that here. Yeah, I think it will bring the family closer together, but you're right. The other three children have a royal role that this little child will never have, even though he's number 7 in line to the throne. So I would imagine that it will cause them to come closer together in some respects, but also will underline the differences in their respective futures.
Absolutely. Very interesting. It's a story of joy, as you say, but then there are so many other ripple effects and ramifications down the road. I hope he gets to be a little boy. Thanks so much for that, Anne.
You're welcome.
Anne McMillan, former CBC London bureau chief, and we reached her right there in London. The breaking news is this. British Prime Minister Theresa May is sending her well wishes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. May tweeted this out just a short time ago. Here it is. Congratulations to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex on the arrival of their baby boy. Wishing you all the best at this happy time. And definitely a happy time. Hasn't always been there in the UK. As you know, there have been so many discussions back and forth, so much angst, so much frustration over Brexit, and now people are celebrating something that is so happy, and that is the birth of a little boy. He is healthy. We do know that. He came in at 7 pounds 3 ounces, born early in the morning there, local time, 5:26, and we did hear from Prince Harry that mother and baby are doing well. As for where that baby was born, no confirmation on that. We know that Meghan Markle had wanted a home birth, or certainly not to be at the hospital and come out of that Linda wing, as we've seen so many other royal babies on that stoop. But where the baby was born, we don't know. Whether her mother was with her, not confirmed yet. We do know that Prince Harry was there. As he said, he was there for the birth, and he was just amazed by it all. And we don't know who else was in that room, but we certainly know there's lots of support and lots of encouragement and lots of congratulations, as I say, coming to them, including from the Prime Minister. Arthi Pole has also been watching this story, and you've been looking at other details that are coming in. What's caught your interest?
Well, what was very interesting is actually we were talking about how typically you will see the mother come out shortly after birth birth. And
looking
of course,
fantastic.
Looking fantastic.
Yeah, which I never understood.
It's incredible to watch.
Yes.
And even then sometimes have to face criticism, which is also incredible. But this is something that we do not get to experience in this particular case because Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, as you've mentioned, they did want to do things differently and they did want to be more private about this all. But in terms of the historical scenes that have gone by or historic events of these births, here's a look at some of the footage. And we're going to go back here to, I believe, 1926 even, and look at some of the footage of the first times that those royal babies were in fact displayed to the public. So we do have some of that video because we know that it is something that has happened since the initial birth. So let's just look at this full frame. So this was back in 1926 from what I understand, and that was crowds gathering to see the newborn baby Princess Elizabeth. And you know, I mean, it's incredible that this is such a tradition that has carried on. And then through the years, as we heard from Anne Macmillan, of course, the christening was another opportunity. It was December 1948 that Prince Charles was also on his way to the christening, and that is where crowds again were lined up. We most certainly also saw that in 1982 with the Prince and Princess of Wales as they posed with Prince William and they were leaving the hospital. Also that expectation that of course they would look fabulous, the mother would look fabulous as she left. And then of course we saw that with Prince William and Catherine as well. And so these are sort of these historic views that we've had before, and we will have to wait a little bit because as we've heard, we know that Prince Harry has really managed the information surrounding this birth about what he wants to share, what the couple wants to share, whether or not they would even go to a hospital. They didn't give the press a due date. They didn't let them know where it would take place, this birth either. So we learned that she was going into labor, and shortly after they confirmed that a 7-pound child was born at 5:26 in the morning. And so this is the information that we continue to work on now and trying to also get a lot of reaction. We know that that's all coming into.
7 pounds, 3 ounces.
Yes.
When you have a baby, you can't forget those ounces because each one hurts differently. Thank you for that, Marthy. Just being open with you. This is breaking news for us that we are covering, of course, and we do know that the royal family has now posted this message on Twitter. Here's what it reads. The Duchess's mother, Doria Ragland, who is overjoyed by the arrival of her first grandchild, is with their Royal Highnesses at Frogmore Cottage. So at least we have a location there on the grounds of Frogmore House. Her Royal Highness and the baby are both doing well. Again, that is more great news, and Brits are smiling because this is a happy day. We're getting more insight into the birth of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex baby boy. One person who's been following this story very closely is Omid Scobie. He is a royal commentator. We've reached him live in Windsor. Omid, this is a great day. Or can you feel the happiness there?
Sue, Hannah, I feel like we've all made this together. For me, this is day 10 of the baby wait, so it's so exciting to finally have the news that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have had a boy.
Well, we didn't all make this together. That's a good thing. Prince Harry, though, he came out. He looked so excited and amazed, as he said, by the things that women can do, and so happy to announce that his wife and the baby were both doing well. What was your sense of his message to reporters?
I mean, for Prince Harry, this was him handling that moment very personally. He wanted to do it himself. There was no statement to the press. This was him candidly, in his own words, sharing his pride and joy over what will be one of the most important days of his life. Of course, he was by Meghan's side throughout the entire birth. And so he would have really, I mean, as he said in his own words, he was so proud of his wife today. He's now back, of course, at Frogmore Cottage with Doria and Meghan and their little boy. This is their perfect family moment.
Who else do you think would have been there?
That's it. So Doria's, of course, been with Meghan for 2 weeks now. We know that she flew in to be by her daughter's side, sort of in the run-up to the big day. And, of course, Harry's been there. He's really dialed back his work. He's not on paternity leave yet, but he had really been sort of slowing it down so he could be there for his wife along the way. Of course, with her overdue, several days overdue, she really needed that moral support. I heard in the run-up that she was doing very well, very comfortable and content, but a little bit nervous. I'm sure all of those nerves have gone now that she has that bundle of joy.
As far as seeing his brother, when do you think they will come to view the new royal baby?
Well, Kensington Palace haven't announced anything yet. There's also been no statement from Kensington Palace, but the Buckingham Palace statement did say that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were delighted at the news alongside other members of the royal family. I'm sure over the days ahead, we'll see many friends from both sides of the Atlantic visiting Harry and Meghan and getting their first glimpse of the baby boy. I know a couple of Meghan's friends already happened to be en route, just coincidentally. I think they thought the baby would have been long here by now, but of course they're arriving at perfect times.
And she was overdue, so I'm sure she was ready to give birth and have that little boy come out to see the world he's going to be a part of. What will you be watching for, in the next couple of days?
Well, at the moment, the palace are now setting up a media area on the long walk leading up to Windsor Castle. There'll be aides from the palace on the ground to brief us along the way. As Harry said in his little interview that he did earlier, it will be a couple of days before we be seeing baby Sussex for the first time. That will be an official photo call with one photographer, one TV guy, and also a reporter who will be able to ask a few questions. That will then be pooled to all of us here. So we're all waiting for that moment so we can then share it with the world.
We know the Duchess of Cambridge is a big, a photographer, a photophile, if you will. Maybe she'd be called in to take some pictures of the new royal baby. What do you think? Because we just saw some pictures from from Charlotte's 4th birthday, was it?
Well, the Duchess of Cambridge, I think, has proved herself as being quite a competent photographer at this point. I'm not sure she'll be the one taking the first pictures. In fact, I think that Alexei Lubomirsky, who did the engagement photos, will be here at some point in the next month to do some official portraits for the new family.
Have you heard anything negative about the way this has all come about, that we haven't been able to see the new mum and the new dad on the steps of the hospital, that we haven't had a picture of the little baby yet? Is there any sense of negative feeling that you're getting there?
I mean, listen, amongst a different generation of royal reporters, I think some were quite disappointed that the couple weren't sharing that moment with the world. But you only need to look at a recent government poll in the UK. 75% of British citizens are very happy that the couple are doing it their own way. They don't want that hospital moment. I think for a lot of people, it's quite old-fashioned. It's not relatable. I think for women, the last thing they want to do, and Diana said this herself, is to go out on the steps of a hospital with perfectly blown out hair and heels to show off a baby to the world. Harry and Meghan having a couple of days to themselves is the perfect way to do it.
And as we wait for a name, we're also waiting to see if there's a title. What's your take on that?
Well, the palace may have already given us all the clues that we know, because the Queen hasn't issued what's called a letters patent. This is a very archaic rule that goes back to George V in 1917. And what was reversed for the Cambridges just before Prince George's birth, the Queen issued a letters patent, and that meant that all of the Cambridge children could receive HRH titles, making them prince or princess. The Sussex baby has not had this. So at the moment, he or she will be the Earl of Dumbarton or the Lady Mountbatten Windsor. It depends what title they'll go with, but at the moment there will be no prince or princess title.
All right. I want to thank you. And let me ask you one more thing. What is it that you're most excited about when it comes to this royal birth?
I mean, for me, I think this really continues the amazing journey that Harry and Meghan have been on, which is revolutionizing and modernizing the monarchy. I think the couple have brought a modernity to the House of Windsor that we haven't seen in a long time. They're a mixed-race couple. They've now welcomed a biracial baby into the world. That brings the royal family way up to date with the rest of British society and with the world. And for a couple that are pretty much the faces of young Commonwealth, that's the right way to do it.
Great to talk to you and have you on the program, Omid. Have a great day.
Thank you, Suhana.
Royal commentator Omid Scobie. We reached him in Windsor. If you are just joining us, this is the breaking news we are following. It comes out of the UK, a reason for royal celebration. You can see it on the face of this new dad. We know he's Prince Harry, but Prince Harry is now a dad. He and the Duchess of Sussex have given birth to a baby boy. He made the announcement, Harry did, less than an hour ago. He says a name will be announced later. The new baby will be introduced to the public in 2 days, so watch for that later this week. It is their first child And this new baby, everyone's calling him Baby Sussex right now for lack of a name, will be 7th in line to the throne. One of the interesting things that I heard from Omid Scobie was that there was not a special release made by the Queen, which was done on the births of the children of William and Kate. So perhaps that's a clue that this baby boy will not have a royal title. In fact, may go the route of Princess Anne, who chose not to have a title for her children. But it will be a couple of days, I think, before we learn that, at least several days before we see this latest royal baby. We've already heard, though, as I mentioned, from his new father. So if you're just joining us, here is Prince Harry. He's come out of the birthing room and he's got this huge grin on his face. Why is he so happy? Because his life has just changed overnight. He's a new dad, and he spoke with reporters last hour.
Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support for everybody out there. From everybody out there, it's been amazing. So we just wanted to share this with everybody.
And what about names? Are you still thinking about names?
Still thinking about names, Alan. It's yeah, the baby's a little bit overdue, so we've had a little bit of time to think about it. But yeah, we're still. That's the next bit. But for us, I think we'll be seeing you guys in probably 2 days' time, as planned, as a family, to be able to share it with you guys, and so everyone can see the baby.
Well, you can't stop smiling. It must have been. I mean, every birth is amazing, but for your own child, it must be. Oh.
I haven't been at many births. This is definitely my first birth, but it was amazing, absolutely incredible. And as I said, I'm so incredibly proud of my wife. And as every father and parent would ever say, you know, your baby is absolutely amazing, but this little thing is absolutely to die for. So I'm just over the moon.
As he should be, right? If you're a dad, you know that feeling, and you can probably relate. If you're a mom, you can probably relate to what Meghan Markle is going through right now. But let's look at the question of succession to the throne and that line that just got one more name added to it. Arthi Pohl has been looking at that. Baby Sussex, as we're calling him, because we don't know a name just yet. At least they're not calling him Baby Brexit or anything. Baby Sussex at least is happy. How does that succession to the throne look?
Well, it's a long list, Suhana, and
sure.
It's very unlikely that Baby Sussex is ever going to be king, sadly, so he may not get that opportunity. But let's take a look at the list of people ahead of him and what it would take to actually get down to Baby Sussex. First in line, Prince Charles, and he would be the first person, the proud grandfather today. Prince William would be second in line to the throne. Then comes his first son, Prince George. He would be next in line to be king. And then, as there was an amendment done in succession rules when Prince Charlotte was born, she, in fact, would be fourth in line to the throne, followed by Prince Louis. And then the new father would be sixth in line. That's Prince Harry. And then Baby Sussex would be seventh in line. And so that would be the succession right now. And in terms of a title as well, we know that we've been hearing from our guests, of course, that the naming conventions when it comes to those titles is something that actually has to come from the Queen, because it was actually back with King George V, Harry's great-grandfather, that they limited titles within the royals. And so it would have to be something that would be delivered by the Queen so that the new baby could be called Prince, if in fact that is something that they want. Otherwise, there's some reporting that it could be the Earl of Dumbarton, but that again is only if they want, in fact, a title to be there for their new baby now, that of course was born at 5:26 in the morning, confirmed of course by that proud new father. I still get a chuckle every time I listen to him speak that it's the first time that he's witnessed a birth. I guess so. But we also heard from Buckingham Palace saying here that in fact Meghan Markle's mother is with the couple as well right now. Doria Raglan is staying with them at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, which is where they are staying. We do not know where Meghan Markle, where the Duchess of Sussex gave birth to this baby boy. We just know that Prince Harry has said that the baby and the mother are healthy and happy right now. And it's also an interesting sign of the times, perhaps, that we're seeing an announcement on Instagram that this is one of the couples that has really embraced social media. And so we are seeing that they've posted here, it's a boy, on Instagram, and they said that we're going to have to wait. The public, the media, the press, everyone is going to have to wait to actually see this baby, because they're not walking out with it as Harry's brother did, Prince Harry's brother did, with their 3 children. Suhana?
Now, we don't know exactly where she had the baby. We know it was not at Lindo Hospital, where we saw, the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate, come out on that stoop with her 3 children each time. But they were in Frogmore Cottage. That's on the grounds of Berkshire, west of London. We know that her mum was there. We know Prince Harry was there. So I suppose the assumption is, and we, as I say, have not confirmed, that she could likely have had that birth at home, which was one of the things they had discussed. As for a title, I'm sure that's what Brits are wondering about right now. Have you seen the pictures outside? Do you know they erupted into applause when they heard that this baby was born? Have we got some shots of what is happening outside on Windsor? They're in the monitor right now. So here's Windsor Castle, Arthi. And then people started gathering on the streets. Now, she had that baby when?
5:26 in the morning.
So early in the morning, people are gathering there. She's more than a week overdue, and they hear the news and they erupt into applause. This is what giving birth should be like for every woman.
Yes, I think that you have a really good case for that. And
right.
Aside from that, it's also some good news, I guess. There has been so much sort of trials and tribulations, as you've said, and certainly we heard from Anne McMillan too that in the country, in the UK, they are just so fatigued with Brexit, so now they can celebrate baby Sussex, and the bets are still coming in on the names as well. And there's even an updated list. Like, this was updated this morning with Albert at the top now, which moved
It
Arthur.
was Arthur, wasn't it?
It was Arthur.
Yeah.
Now it's Albert. And Philip we see on the list. Louis is on the list, but that's probably unlikely because that would be his cousin's name as well. Alexander, James. So a lot of things to still think about, to watch for, to be excited about, and possibly for the people betting on this to make some money on.
Exactly. I know you're standing by, Arthi. We're going to just go back to a conversation that I had a little bit earlier with a royal watcher. Her name is Penny Junior. We reached her in Wiltshire, England. She's in fact a biographer of Prince Harry, so she has this sense of Harry not just as a member of the royal family, but as a young man. And that's who we saw, I think, come out and announce that his wife had given birth, because he didn't look like it was a formal royal announcement. He came out, he looked like he was a happy dad. But the first thing I talked to Penny about was about that great big smile we saw on Harry's face when he announced the birth of his son. Here's part of that conversation.
Oh, absolutely. It's the reaction from most dads, I think. And I certainly remember his father coming out after the birth of his brother, when Diana gave birth to Prince William, and saying this was the most exciting, miraculous, incredible thing I've ever seen. I think it is what new fathers who are with their wives when they give birth say all the time.
He is facing some big decisions now. Name, title. I didn't realize that the Duke and Duchess could decide whether to give their child a title, whether he would be Earl or go the route of Princess Anne and not have a title. Knowing Harry the way you do, which way do you think he is leaning?
I would not be surprised if he said no title. Harry himself has, longed throughout his, I'm sorry, I've got other phone calls coming. I will try and kill it. Throughout his childhood and early sort of grown-up years, Harry wished to goodness that he was not a member of the royal family. He would have loved to have been a normal human being, but that was not the case for him. And I think that, Harry has embraced who he is, and he has come to realize that being a member of the royal family with his title does give him the opportunity to do some good in the world. But I really think that he, his child will not have the the prominence that he has. Harry has been very close to the line of succession for very many years. He's not now, and his child is even further away from it. So I think that it's perfectly possible. And I would expect Harry to want this child to have a normal kind of a life.
Hard to do in a country that is, so bound to its royal news and anything happening with the royal family. But let me ask you, you haven't perhaps the same insight with Meghan Markle, with the Duchess of Sussex. Could she be on the same page with wanting her child not to have a title? Because for her, that's something new. She hasn't grown up with that.
She hasn't grown up with that, but I think Harry will. I mean, who knows? To be honest, Stefan, I don't know. But I suspect that he will call the shots here. And I think that she has had enough of an insight into what it is like to be a member of the royal family. Oh,
goodness, Penny, I know you're going to be inundated. If you hear a name from any of those messages, could you break that news on the air, please? Because that's what we're really waiting for now. How much pressure is it on the couple to go traditional?
Well, I mean, I think there's no pressure, actually. And all the bookies have been saying Arthur, Philip, all the sort of traditional royal names. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if this baby was called something like Thomas, after Meghan's father. I mean, I know that they've had their problems in recent years, but he is her father after all. And I'm sure that, that really deep down she loves him a lot. So, or maybe they could just choose a name that they like. Or a name after Harry's had some very special friends over the years, and some of them are not around anymore. He may well like to honour one of his friends in that way.
That was Penny Junor. She's a biographer of Prince Harry, and she spoke with us from Wiltshire, England. If you are just joining us, here's our top story. We are covering it from this place, Windsor Castle. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have announced the birth of a baby boy. Came in at 7 pounds 3 ounces. 5:26 local time in the morning. Mother and baby are doing well. Prince Harry says a name will be announced later, and the new baby will be introduced to the public in a couple of days. We're waiting for the official announcement outside of Buckingham Palace. We'll have it for you here on CBC News Network.
Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine.
And he should be happy. It's a baby boy. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced the birth of their first child. Hello, everyone. I'm Suhana Marchand. It is a healthy baby boy for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, 3.26 kilograms. The highly anticipated birth took place early this morning. I want to take you live to the scene around Windsor Castle, which is west of London. This is where Harry and Meghan now make their home. A little piece of property on there called Frogmore Cottage. And today, Windsor Castle is where royal watchers are lining the streets. They're celebrating this good news. The baby is great-grandchild number 8 for the Queen. This baby is 7th in line to the throne. Prince Harry, we know, was by his wife's side for the birth, and later he came outside to share the news. Well, he was over the moon. He said thank you to everyone. He said it's the most amazing experience I could ever have imagined. And he also did say that he is incredibly proud of his wife. We do have that clip. Here is Prince Harry.
Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support for everybody out there, from everybody out there. It's been amazing. So we just wanted to share this with everybody.
And what about names? Are you still thinking about names?
Still thinking about names, Alan. It's yeah, the baby's a little bit overdue, so we've had a little bit of time to think about it. But yeah, we're still. That's the next bit. But for us, I think we'll be seeing you guys in probably 2 days' time, as planned, as a family, to be able to share it with you guys, and so everyone can see the baby.
I mean, you can't stop smiling. It must have been. I mean, I suppose every birth is amazing, but for your own child, it must be. Oh.
I haven't been at many births. This is definitely my first birth, but it was amazing, absolutely incredible. And as I said, I'm so incredibly proud of my wife. And as every father and parent would ever say, you know, your baby is absolutely amazing, but this little thing is absolutely to die for. So I'm just over the moon. Thank you.
So that is Prince Harry there talking to reporters after the birth of his son. They announced the happy news, like many parents do these days, on Instagram. What else? The caption on their Sussex royal account says this: "We are pleased to announce that their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, welcomed their firstborn child in the early morning on May 6th, 2019. Their Royal Highness's son weighs 7 pounds, 3 ounces. The Duchess and baby are both healthy and well, and the couple thank members of the public for their shared excitement and support during this very special time in their lives. More details will be shared in the forthcoming days." And those details are what we're all watching for right now. Like a name, will there be a title? We've got CBC's Renee Filippone just outside Windsor Castle. She's got there now on the ground. Some details from Prince Harry himself. Renee, anything else you're learning there?
Well, everything really happened so quickly this afternoon, Suhana. We heard around 1:40 London time, there were reports that the Duchess of Sussex had gone into labor. And then about an hour later, just a little over an hour later, is when Prince Harry came outside and did that quick little scrum to let everyone know that, in fact, the baby boy had been born at 5:26 this morning. I'm in an area right now in front of Windsor Castle where there are plenty of media, plenty of people who have basically been camped out here in town for some people. They've been here for a couple of weeks waiting for this to happen. A lot of speculation leading up to this. Had the baby already been born, and were they not telling us? But you know, they kind of did exactly what they promised from Buckingham Palace, that they would give us notification of when she went into labor and then would update us with more information past that. But we did hear from Harry, as you mentioned, that the baby was a bit overdue, which I think a lot of people here were expecting. So there's that. And as you mentioned, a couple days from now is when we'll get our first look at the newest royal, 7th in line to the throne, and the 8th great-grandchild of the Queen.
And great-grandchild number 8, as you mentioned, we're watching to see that announcement traditionally placed on the placard at Buckingham Palace, and we'll carry that for our viewers. Right now, everyone's calling him Baby Sussex because we don't have a name. What's the speculation there about a name, Renee?
Well, a lot of people have been talking about how this couple, they're doing things differently than for instance, William or other royals in the past. But when you look at the betting lines on names, these are names that are still quite traditional. There's Albert, and some people are even saying Philip and Arthur. Philip would be an interesting choice, considering that's the child's great-grandfather, Prince Philip. So we don't really know about that. We do know at this point it will be up to the Queen to determine whether or not this new royal will be called a prince. That's a decision she gets to make. However, we do know right now that the baby was born a duke, and that's the title that he'll have at this point. Anything else we'll find out as that information comes out from the palace.
Speaking of the palace, from the rest of the royal family, what are you hearing?
Well, everyone, in the statement that they sent out, a lot of excitement. Obviously, with the media here, the buzz, the anticipation was growing. Everyone wanted this news. This is obviously a very personal experience for them to have a new grandchild, a new cousin. So a lot of excitement in the press release. And you could really hear that excitement also when Harry came out to speak to the media. In the lead up to this, there's also a lot of speculation about whether or not the Duchess of Sussex would give birth at home. We still don't know if that was in fact the case. But what's interesting to note in the press release that did come out was that she is already at Frogmore Cottage, which is her home, and she's there with her mother. So either she delivered in the hospital and went straight home, or it's possible she delivered at home again. These are all things we don't have the answers to at this point, because the couple has been very particular about wanting to keep the details and have this be a private event for them.
And they've made it so, and we won't get pictures of that new little baby for a couple of days. Prince Harry said there will be some kind of photo op, or at least a picture that's released. So there has been a lot of talk about how differently Harry and Meghan tackled this. Not only did they not want to, talk about it beforehand in terms of their plans and what they were going to do. We know she's overdue. Don't know what happened in that week or what people were around her. But in terms of the different way this has been handled, what really stands out for you, Renee?
Well, I think there was an expectation from a lot of people that they would do this the same way that Kate and William did, outside the Lindo wing, a day after or the same day, come out in front of all of the media. They get all those pictures taken, and then they go home. This is different, and people didn't know what to expect. And I think because of that, people were speculating. They didn't really understand how this was all going to play out and what we would be able to see and what details we would get. And that's a decision that they made. And it's different for Harry than it is for Prince William, because this child is, as we mentioned, 7th in line for the throne, unlike his child, George, which is 3rd. So, it's a different situation. They don't have the same sort of pressures on them.
Final question for you. What's the mood like around there? Because I heard there was applause outside. I know the baby was born in the wee hours of the morning, 5:26 or something local time, so there couldn't have been a lot of people up. But now the news is filtering through. What's your sense of that neighborhood?
Well, it's difficult because, Suhana, we just arrived in Windsor ourselves. We had to drive in from London. So, we haven't had a chance to talk to a lot of people. That's part of my plan going forward.
Okay.
But there are definitely crowds here, people watching the media, and people that, clearly care and are excited. We've been hearing from these individuals in the days and weeks leading up when we've been up here before doing other stories. So clearly people care, they're excited. And as you mentioned, there was applause. So it obviously showed here today.
I bet you the pubs will be doing a robust business. Thanks so much, Renee. CBC's Renee Filipponi. She is outside Windsor Castle. Former CBC London Bureau Chief Anne McMillan has covered 4 royal births. I asked her when I spoke with her earlier to compare this announcement with some of those others.
Well, very different, because we're not going to see Meghan coming out of a hospital looking gorgeous like we did with Kate after her baby George and baby Charlotte, which I remember very well. This, several hours after her birth at St. Mary's Hospital, out she went, out she came, looking absolutely stunning with perfect hair, perfect makeup. Meghan has made it clear she did not want to do that. She and Harry said several times in their walkabouts to people that they wanted to have a private birth where they could enjoy their baby as a family for at least a couple of days. And that's what it sounds like is going to happen. Harry said in 2 days' time, we'll see them with their baby.
We did hear from Harry. He looks ecstatic, and he seemed to be very forthright, emotional. I suppose that's because he's not his brother and he doesn't have the weight of the throne sitting on his shoulders. Did you get that sense?
Absolutely. And I mean, no wonder he'd just seen his wife give birth. I love him saying it's amazing what women do, what they go through. So, yeah, he's a very, very sort of affectionate, honest man. And he's quite, he says what he thinks and he says what he feels. And clearly he was feeling a lot during that interview.
We are not sure of a name. Let me ask you how much pressure there is on them to follow the traditional royal baby name book, or to throw that all out the window and maybe choose her father's name. Thomas, could that be in the picture?
I think probably not her father's name for various reasons, Suhanna, although Thomas is a lovely name. Yeah, I think that certainly the bookies, as your previous guest said, have been betting on all the old familiars. A few extra ones that she didn't mention. Philip, the Queen's husband, and Harry's very close to his grandfather. Another one was Frederick. Fred, that's a nice name. Yeah, I suspect they'll be under a lot of pressure, but maybe look for some of the middle names. They may be a bit more non-traditional.
As far as Meghan goes, how much input will she have? I mean, I realize that Prince Harry does have a different kind of upbringing, and he's used to this fishbowl life. But for the Duchess of Sussex, will she have the same kind of say in whether this baby gets a title, whether this baby does follow that name protocol?
Yeah, I think she's a very, how can I describe her? She's very self-assured. She knows what she wants. She's older than Harry. She's 37. He's 34. I think that just the way that she's had this baby makes it very clear that she is going her own way. She is not, I don't, as far as we know, because we don't quite know where the baby was born, but she wanted a home birth if possible. She did not go for the same hospital that Kate went to. If anything, she was talking about going to a hospital in London that her friend Amal Clooney, she's very close, she and Harry are very close to Amal and George Clooney. Amal, of course, had twins recently, and I think Meghan has taken a lot of guidance from her. I think that she will bring up this child the way that she wants to. I know Kate, when she first had children, said that she wasn't going to have a nanny. Her mother was helping out. She did eventually get a nanny because she's got a lot of pressure of work. Whether Meghan will feel the same way, I don't know, but I suspect we will see her be different. Princess Anne is a good example. Her children do not have titles. Harry is close to his cousins Peter and Zara. Maybe he'll go that route. Maybe he'll decide no titles for my children. But all this we can wait and see and talk about at a later date.
And you can bet that talk will continue. That was Anne McMillan, the CBC's former London bureau chief. A couple of things to share with you on this birth. The London Eye is going to be lit blue tonight. So that's in honor of this new royal birth there in Windsor. The Prime Minister has sent her congratulations. We're still waiting for that placard, which is quite traditional for Buckingham Palace to put outside of its gates, announcing the birth of this new baby. There are people gathering in Windsor. You can bet the pubs there are going to be quite busy because everybody will be toasting to this new baby. Baby Sussex, for lack of a name just yet. But let's get into some of those names. We've got Arthie Pole watching all of the royal reaction and the public reaction. Anne mentioned George and Amal Clooney being close to the couple. Maybe they'll be there.
No.
And you too, I know, Arthie and Amal and George.
Yeah.
So what is the latest on this?
Well, there's so much reaction, as you're mentioning. And why don't we quickly just start with the Prime Minister? And she is probably happy to have some good news to share on her Twitter feed as well. Let's look at that tweet from Theresa May. She says, congratulations to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex on the arrival of their baby boy. Wishing you all the best at this happy time. Of course, also, we know the royal family has issued an official statement. All of the senior members of the royal family are also aware of the birth and have said that they are quite happy about it all. This is a tweet from them saying that the Duchess's mother, Doria Raglan, who is overjoyed by the arrival of her first grandchild, is with their Royal Highnesses at Frogmore Cottage, and that's in Windsor. Her Royal Highness and the baby are doing well. And also, we know that Mayor John Tory Story of Toronto also sent out a tweet congratulating the royal couple, saying congratulations to them, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, on the birth of their first child. Great to hear mom and baby boy are doing well, and we look forward to the family's next visit to Toronto. We know a lot of people here in Canada like to claim Meghan Markle as one of their own because she did spend so many years here in Toronto when she was shooting that series Suits that she was a big part of. Also, there are some reports here on the wires, and it's being reported from the Sun newspaper, unconfirmed by CBC News, that Thomas Markle, Meghan Markle's father, has said in a statement that he is overjoyed with the birth of the grandson and said that he will grow up to serve the crown and the people of Britain with grace, dignity, and honor. So that is some of the reaction we're seeing right now, Suhana.
We have seen many other royal births, and we've covered them, as you mentioned, on the steps of that Lindo wing of the hospital when, you know, the Duchess of Cambridge came out with her 3. How is this birth of a royal baby different from those others?
It is so different. And you know, Suhana, you've also covered so many of these as well. So you've seen those images. We saw an Instagram message, an Instagram post. I feel like this is the first time that we're seeing that it's a boy. This is a couple that has really embraced social media. But in terms of just how different it is when we go back to decades back with the royal family, let's take a look at some of these images because it's quite incredible to look at. We know that often the mothers will come out looking spectacular with their children. So this is June 1st, 1926, and crowds gathered, as they often do, for the newborn baby Princess Elizabeth, who had been born, of course, in April of 1926, but that was the viewing. Then in December 1948, Prince Charles, of course, now he is the heir to the throne, but he was christened, and that was one of the presentations there as well. And then, of course, when we were talking about more recently, we know the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge as well. We know also, this is the image we've got of the Princess of Wales when it was 1982 and Prince William was born. So there is so much convention, and this is a couple that has broken with tradition. We don't know whether or not it was a home birth, but that is something that the Duchess of Sussex had wanted, and perhaps that was the case, and that's why we didn't see them step out onto those steps as we've seen throughout history.
Yes, and I admire all the women who do come out with their babies hours after they've given birth and look absolutely stunning. You go, girl.
Agreed.
That's great
Agreed.
to know. Thanks for that, Arthi. Here's a live look at Buckingham Palace right now. What we're all waiting for and expecting is the official announcement to appear there this hour. It will be on that easel in front of the palace, and we can tell you that a royal baby was born early hours of the morning, 5:26 local time. That little boy weighed in at 7 pounds, 3 ounces, which is 3.26 kilos. Prince Harry says a name will be announced later. We're expecting a photo op, if you will, in a couple of days' time when the new baby will be introduced to the public. You're watching it all unfold live right here on CBC News Network. Congratulations to Harry and Meghan and little baby Sussex.